Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill, along with Andrew Moran, Dave Patterson, John Clark, and Graham Noble. And this is the Conservative Five, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. Have you said something salty on Facebook recently? Maybe say something unflattering about a government official or stand up for the Second Amendment. Perhaps that will explain the unmarked black Suburbans in the driveway and the dark suits approaching your front door. Wouldn't time be better spent ferreting out drug smuggling or Hillary's lost emails? According to two FBI agents, recorded by one unhappy resident, they spend every day, all day long, interrogating Americans about their social media posts. The man who wrote the disturbing piece for Liberty Nation on Big Brother, Comes a Callin', is here to start the conversation off right. Graham Noble, that floor is yours, bud.
Yeah, Sarah, that was an interesting story. The lady in question you're talking about lives in Oklahoma, I believe, and her name is Rolla Abdel Jawad. Now, Ms. Abdel Jawad is not a big fan of Israel, to put it mildly. Very strongly pro-Palestinian. I don't want to say pro-Hamas because that would be presumptive, but certainly pro-Palestinian, and strongly objects to what Israel is doing, and I guess just objects to, their very existence in general. So she posted some very strong comments on Facebook, very saying very unpleasant things about the Israelis. But at the end of the day, her comments they did not include any direct threats. They did not include any hint that the lady in question was herself planning any kind of like terrorist attacks or planning to harm anybody. And yet the FBI rolled up at her door to ask her about these posts because apparently Facebook sent them screenshots of these posts.
Well,
Uh,
I don't get it. I mean, she's just ranting, right? She's just having a rant. Everybody has a rant on Facebook, it seems. So why was hers different?
well, you know, it's hard to say because the FBI agents that turned up at her door actually told her that they were not there to arrest her. Um, they just they just do this, and they did say, we do this all day, every day, and it's to ensure that everyone's safe and that nobody is harboring any ill will. Which, as I thought to myself, and I wrote on the pages of Liberty Nation, that okay, so is it now potentially a criminal offense to harbor ill will? Because if it is, most people who live in this country, for one reason or another, are probably in trouble. So it's all a bit silly, and no matter how offensive many Americans might have found Abdel Jawad's, posts and her opinions, that's beside the point. We have free speech in this country, and that means that you are allowed, or it should mean that you are allowed to say things even that a lot of other people, or even things that everybody else thinks is highly offensive or highly objectionable in some way. The whole point of the story, or the meaning behind it, is that our First Amendment rights, not only our First Amendment rights, goes beyond the First Amendment, just a normal kind of human right of being able to speak freely is being infringed in the name of, well, we're just trying to keep everybody safe. And I personally just don't think that's a good enough excuse to stop people expressing whatever opinions they have.
No, and honestly, it seems really. And what surprised me about that particular part of your story was that's a progressive, and we don't really usually censor progressives. Hey, John Clark, that new law against hate speech in Scotland just came into force. Is that something that we might be headed to with this kind of activity?
Well, I think we're already there and more. Scotland, Ireland also has pushed some similar initiatives. If you say something that is likely to make people feel upset, basically, I'm stretching a little bit, but it absolutely deviates from the American tradition. Now, we have some of the most forceful free speech protections of any nation in the world. I've lived in the UK. And things that there are banned are here called free speech in the name of pornography. Canada also, apparently, Mr. Trudeau has been cutting back on this. But what we're talking about is attacking subjective speech and intention, attacking or banning the Confederate flag, for instance. That's free speech. We have case law allowing Nazis to protest and KKK people to protest. These are being cast aside by the Democrat Party, these were liberal court decisions. We know that the Biden administration was using, safety or protection in COVID to regulate our speech in the name of misinformation, which actually was stifling true information. So I'm a bit of a free speech zealot. So in response to that video that I had seen before Graham wrote about it, so I saw your piece with interest, I've been becoming a little more outspoken.
You are just getting a little goofy here.
You told me to
But
be
you did mention
energetic.
Canada, so that's a good pivot for me to go right to Andrew and ask him about the crazy, uncommon sense tactics that Canada uses these days.
Yeah, so John's absolutely correct. This initiative is happening all over the Western world. You have Ireland doing it, Scotland now, the UK. All these Western governments are imposing these laws. So Canada in Trudeau land, we have something called Bill C-63. It's known as the Online Harms Act. So it would impose sentences of up to 5 years for hate speech and lifetime imprisonment for advocating genocide. If I may go back to Bill C-63, if you said anything hateful on X or Facebook, you could receive a visit from the government. Plus, your accuser gets to be anonymous. And if you find out who the accuser is, you cannot speak out or risk going to jail again. But don't worry. The Trudeau government said that it will only go after extreme online hate speech. So, of course, you know where this is going. It's going to be a slippery slope. It's going to go from extreme hate speech to anything you say. And also, the Trudeau government assured everyone that everything is okay because they have a new definition of the word hate. It will be, quote, it now means, quote, the emotion that involves detestation or vilification that is stronger than disdain or dislike. So Canadians can be rest assured
Nobody's
going
to get that. I don't know what's going on, but this is nothing new in America. Dave, this censorship thing has been going on off and on here and there all through the course of our country. Am I right or am I wrong?
You're right, as much as we'd like to think otherwise. Censorship has been part of the American landscape, since Ben Franklin's brother, James, was thrown into jail in 1722 when he published in the American Current a criticism of, anonymous government official. And we've had it throughout our history. The Sedition Act of 1918, which progressives love to throw around, it limited the rights of free speech during World War I and making it a crime to, as it points out, willfully utter, print, write, or publish any disloyal, profane, scurrilous, or abusive language about the form of government of the United States. Incidentally, President Woodrow Wilson, the progressives' favorite son, supported it wholeheartedly. But we've had famous authors like James Joyce and, Ernest Hemingway had their books banned. I think what we're talking about today and what makes today's censorship a little bit different is and that the Biden administration has actively and publicly colluded with the likes of Facebook and former Twitter and YouTube to ban points of view they find offensive. And most often it's, a conservative points of view. They skirt the law and without due process to eliminate from the public discourse, which we value highly, because if you're not talking about stuff, things can't be improved. But I think, too, it's in times past, we were unlikely to have, as you pointed out, the black Suburban with the darkened windows pull up with FBI agents who are actively abetting and aiding the censorship.
the White House, even if you read Liberty Nation's coverage of the Twitter files, they even targeted people, or actually also the Facebook files. They also targeted people who shared memes that made fun of the coronavirus vaccines. So it's not just speech now, it goes through memes. They get offended by memes. So I can only imagine how an FBI agent who joined the agency to fight against terrorists and drug dealers, they're forced to go after somebody who posted a meme on social media.
You've got to believe that these FBI agents do not want to be doing this. I mean, and this is what I said in my article, is that it's ridiculous, and the FBI, perhaps understandably and perhaps justifiably, has gotten a bit of a bad rap over the last few years. Their kind of trustworthiness, if you like, has been called into question. But the thing is, it's not about your average FBI agent, who certainly did not join the Bureau to be knocking on the doors of American citizens and asking them about what they posted on Facebook. It's the leadership, and it's the political leadership more than anything. I just want to throw in one point, and that is that, Andrew said earlier on about the Canadian government saying, well, we're only going to go after the most extreme cases. Well, that's right there. That's a very dangerous word to use, because as we've seen in the United States, we're getting to the point where anybody who even talks about defending the Constitution, anybody who talks about the founding fathers and an American tradition, anything like that can basically get you categorized as potentially an extremist. And so, it's going to get to the point where you could post something online about the Constitution, and somebody out there on the left is going to call you an extremist for talking up the Constitution.
Right, guys. I'm sorry, Andrew. You got 10 seconds, man. I got to shut this down.
I was going to say, the law is not going to be applied evenly. I mean, if you want to advocate genocide against straight white men, government's not going to go after you. But if you make the wrong pronoun, then they're going to target you, of course.
Okay. Well, so it's all in the quest of progressives to ensure no one harbors ill will. People, we are not prepared for war anymore. Thanks, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. I'm your host, Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today for Free Thinking, Free Speech, LibertyNation.com.
Don't get caught up in the media madness. Join our movement for free thinking and free speech at LibertyNation.com. Publishing news and analysis 24/7 with original articles by our team of authors who tell it like it is. Join us each week for online TV shows, The Uprising Podcast, and Liberty Nation Radio. We believe in free thinking and free speech. We are LibertyNation.com.